Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Lock Shop right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, thank you very much for the support. Tell your friends, fire them the link to old EST there, and they too can download the free TuneIn or iHeart apps and hop along for the ride. Full-blown free agency recap going today. I think we're going to build a little baseball parlay for you today as well. Obviously some CFL. So we'll take an early look at CFL lines. I know they're up already, so Huss and I will probably dive into that. But lots to get to on the free agency front today for sure. Excellent hangout today. Huss will be, he's connecting. He's having a bit of an internet issue. He's probably in some sort of strip club in Vegas right now. Huss getting stuck down in Vegas. I got stuck in Calgary for a day. He got stuck in Vegas for 3. What an unfair advantage Huss has. But yeah, he's trying to still get home from the draft, which was last week. So Huss will be joining us at some point. He did text me, said he's just having a little bit of an internet issue, but he will reconnect. The Wolf says, I'm checking in from hole 10 at the ranch. I like it. Yeah, you can. Hop in the golf cart, fire up TuneIn or iHeart. The Wolf, obviously on YouTube. Fire up, you set up the speaker on the golf cart, right? And then you set up TuneIn or iHeart, and boom, you've got Lock Shop, and you got 2 guys and a goalie locked and loaded for you right there in your golf cart. What a time to be alive. This is good stuff. Matt saying Lazy River Huss. Man, if Huss slides into the Lock Shop today from the Lazy River at MGM, Zach, I think he's trying to connect right now. He'll be goated forever. It's just that simple. Mark says Huss is at the Spearmint Rhino right now. Yeah, the Wi-Fi connection at the Rhino is not as strong as you thought it would be for how much you're paying for table service there. At least I think that's how it works. I don't know. I've never been. I've been. That place is awesome. All right, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. If you are watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us. I'm with George over there. Says, I can't believe it. 68 watching, 8 likes. This is pathetic. My man, George. That's what I'm talking about. Hammer the thumbs up when you're over there as well. And, we're over 9,200 subs now on EST, so let's continue that magical journey towards 10,000. That would be great. All right, there we go. Huss, oh, man, if you look in his window, you can see another hotel there in the background. I love it. Let's bring in Huss. Huss, how is Vegas, buddy? How are you doing?
My new home? Ever since I moved here, Dusty, there's been a lot going on. We had a great weekend to introduce myself to the community at the draft, and now I've since moved into my long-term home here at MGM Grand, and I don't know, what a circus. WestJet.
Well, I was saying I got stuck in Calgary for an extra day. You at least got Vegas, man. That's at least something. Now 3 days is a little ridiculous, but there could be worse places in the world to be stuck in, I think.
It was such a scam, man. So this all happened. I got a notice. We were down on Fremont at about 2 a.m. on. So the draft ended on Saturday. Yeah. I went down to Fremont. I went to Circa. But if you're ever going to Vegas and you just want a great sportsbook experience, I would suggest Circa over pretty much everything. Honestly, it is the biggest, most awesome sports book. And in addition, at the bottom, Dusty, I don't know if you saw that picture I sent you, the home of the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. So I said to Patty, if Akshay won on the weekend and he got another outright winner, I would be going straight down and nominating him for that. But we need one more winner.
There it is.
Greggy.
Sports Gambling Hall of Fame. And there's tons of room. There's tons of space.
Yeah, there'll be a lock shop, a lock shop display in there at some point. That's our goal. That is our goal. But anyways, yeah, I got a message from WestJet at about 2 a.m. I guess technically Sunday morning. We were supposed to be out at 6:30, and it just said that. Well, it was technically from Expedia. It said WestJet has canceled your flight. Blah blah blah, but no instructions. Just here's your confirmation number. See what you can do. So at that point, it was. You looked, and all the other airlines had either been booked up or had jacked their prices, and to get out on Monday or Tuesday, it was going to be like $2,300 and like a 24-hour milk run through 3 stops. I'm like, no, there's no way. Now, my partner, great dad, just like you, freaking out. Well, I don't want to suggest that his wife was not in good spirits, but that's
understandable if she, understandable if she wasn't.
He rented a car in Vegas, drove to LA, took a midnight flight Sunday to Chicago, got in at 6 a.m, and then spent like another 7 or 8 hours in the Chicago airport and got home yesterday at like 5.
Oh my God.
Like, there is no way. There is absolutely no way. If for basically spending the same is sticking around here for a reasonably priced flight and 3 days at the MGM, I'll do what I have to do.
You had to do it. I mean, you got to take that bullet. That's it. Like,
I did. No. It was wild. It was wild following free agency yesterday from here.
Yeah, it would have been like, what was that? I mean, outside of Twitter and online, was there anything going on TV down there for NHL free agency?
Well, yeah, you know what? The NHL Network's on the tube here.
Okay. Well, that helps then.
So I got a chance to sort of just follow along with the NHL. And, obviously with social media and everything like that, it was kind of more interested in what the Jets were doing and other teams. Okay, so I imagine everyone is planning a parade for 11 months, 3 weeks now after 100%, yesterday?
100%, man. But before, and we'll get to free agency, I got to ask, are you under a red light or did you just get so much sun that you're just sunburned?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. Let's see. Do I still look? No.
Oh, yeah. No, it might be the light a little bit.
I have a pinkish hue.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. I did. I went down yesterday. So, I mean, it's Canada Day. Lawless was busy with the night stuff. I mean, obviously he had to work all day. So I watched everything. I went and had something to eat. And then I'm like, well, I may as well hit down to the pool. And then I'm like, you know what? The most famous video I ever did was in that pool at the Ezdan Palace back in Qatar. So why not do a little update from the Lazy River yesterday?
Lazy River at MGM. Goat move, buddy. Like goat status. I thought that was, I flipped on Twitter. I scrolled and first thing I see is just you sitting at Lazy River with a Bud Light. I was like, oh my God, here we go. This is going to be great. Like, oh my God.
It's all about making the best of the situation. And luckily, I remembered I just threw Remus, before you go, leave the mixer and the headsets. I might be here a while.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it's a good thing I haven't. So through the miracle of technology, we can see, yes, that hotel you're seeing right across the way.
Yeah, which one is that?
It is the former Hooters Hotel.
Yes.
Which is now called the Oyo. But they do have... I think they do have a Hooters there, if I'm not mistaken, and a Steak and Shake. But, I mean, the good thing about MGM, after being in the Encore, which was like the nicest hotel, right there at the nicest hotel
is that where you were?
Been in.
The Encore? Ooh, boy.
Yeah. We were in the Encore. That was the NHL hotel, and they actually gave us a half-decent rate. Like, that hotel itself, when we checked it on the side, was like $1,000 a night on the weekend. So we weren't paying that, and we were sharing a room, so it just made more sense to be there. All the shuttles came in and out of the hotel. A lot of folks from the media and the league were there. But the thing about it is that like every restaurant, everything is just so high end. So I will admit, being the man of the people, it was nice to be back at the MGM where they have a food court. Yes. I had some mall Chinese food the other day, a couple slices of pizza. I mean, just getting back to my normal Vegas running as opposed to the bougie Encore life through the
MGM
weekend.
Is my favorite place to stay. I do like going over to New York, though. Those are pretty good time, but that's my little wheelhouse there. First time I ever went, I stayed at Stratosphere first time. Second time I stayed at Excalibur. So I even got a soft spot for the old Excalibur, if you can believe it. Like, and then they're going to put the baseball stadium in the corner, aren't they? Isn't it like right there?
Allegedly. Listen, I'm still very skeptical and dubious as to whether that's happening. Yeah. The A's could be in Sacramento for the next, 5 to 6 years.
Anyway,
and by the way,
go ahead.
And just quickly, it is so hot here right now. They are getting into record heat, like the highs.
What?
And I don't know what this is in The highs over the next few days.
Okay, tell me the numbers. I'll convert it.
I will just rattle this off to you. I'm sitting at the pool bar yesterday, and they go, "It's going to be hot." Yeah, well, no kidding. It's going to be hot. 113, 113, 114, 114, 116, 116. That's the 4-day, or sorry, the 6-day.
Okay, let me just do the math on this.
And 114, 115 are the records.
That's 45. 113 is 45. My God.
Yeah.
Stay in your air-conditioned room. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And obviously the casino.
Yeah.
But yeah, free agency. Here's my question for you in Oilerland.
Yeah.
It added all those guys yesterday. How is this all going to fit under the cap? And how are they going to fill out? I mean, is the roster completely filled out? Do they still need more guys?
No, the roster is filled out. Now it's a great question, Huss. Like after like Ken Holland's version of All In, and then Jeff Jackson's version of All In is as of this morning being $2.5 million over the cap without Broberg and without Holloway signed. Like people are
How?
Like,
what?
Those two guys got to get signed. They're already $2.5 million over. So I mean, there's a couple of paths here. I don't know if they'll be able to find a taker for Evander Kane, but like as of this moment, I don't think Evander Kane slots into their top 9, which should.
I've got a taker for Evander Kane. LTIR. Book it right now on the Lock Shop, July 2nd. Evander Kane, LTIR, miraculous recovery, healthy Evander just in time for the
season.
playoffs
Well, wouldn't
next
that be something?
Yeah.
So I mean, the Evander. You know what? It's funny because if you look at what Broberg and Holloway are probably going to get, plus the $2 million and $2.5 million they're already over, that kind of take you right up to about Evander Kane's cap hit. So that's something that you could look at. They could also move on from Ryan McLeod, like with them bringing back Henrique. What are you going to pay Ryan McLeod for $3 million to be your fourth line center, and a fourth line center that doesn't hit anything? Like I don't necessarily know where he fits in. That would clear some money off the books. But they have to have a plan. I mean, they're not just going to roll into free agency with 2 RFAs still and be $2.5 million over and be like, we screwed up. Like there has to be some sort of plan there for the Oilers. And the fact that like it was as the day went along, like when it looked like things were slowing down, I was already sitting here and I think most of the city was going, pretty good day. Like that was before they brought back Matthias Janmark and before they brought back Adam Henrique. They had Skinner and Arvidsson and they'd already brought back Connor Brown, but you're looking at Skinner and Arvidsson, you're going, that's a nice day. That's a pretty good day's work. Josh Brown on the back end, who knows? But that's a pretty good day's work. And then they go and they brought back Perry. Then they bring back Janmark, and you're like, okay, well, man, kudos. Like that's a real nice day. And then last night, late afternoon, early evening, Adam Henrique gets announced, and you're like, what the hell? How are they managing to keep all these guys? But we had Dreger and Button on this morning, and Dreger laid it out pretty nicely. Like Adam Henrique apparently had more money offered from the Jets, but wanted to stay with this group in Edmonton right now. John Cooper phoned Henrique and tried to convince him to come to Tampa for a little bit less than what the Oilers were offering just because of the state tax thing, and he probably would have taken home more money on that deal. But Henrique decided to stay, and then Dregs pointed out this morning, too, that the Toronto Maple Leafs were talking to Skinner and being like, hey, we got an opportunity here for you to play with Matthews and or Marner if you come to Toronto, and he took $3 million to come to Edmonton as well. So this is probably the best first day of free agency in the history of the organization yesterday. Like that's how it's being viewed right now.
Hey, listen, if you get to game 7 of the Cup, players know that you're legit. They know they got a great chance to win, and they'll go there. I mean, all things being equal, Edmonton, Winnipeg for that matter. I mean, these are not places where you're normally getting guys to go amongst the top of their list, all things being equal. But a chance to play with Dry and with 97 and a team that came so close last year. I think a lot of guys think that this is their best chance to win the Cup. And that's the way in a smaller Canadian market, that's the way you get free agents. I love the Arvidsson pickup. To me, I mean, they was obviously a priority. They got on that right away. Great deal. And listen, as much as I'll be interested to see how they do the cap gymnastics to make their roster legit for the beginning of the season. They weren't tying these guys up with 3 and 4 year deals. I think it gives them a lot of flexibility over the next few years. And yeah, Skinner, I had to laugh about Skinner. You know that has 1,000 games in the league.
He's never played in the playoffs.
Never been in a playoff game. Like, it's unbelievable. Like,
we had a free agency special yesterday, and Maddie asked me, he's like, what do you think about, and this was right before Skinner had signed, but we were kind of onto it. Tommy had some good info, so we were talking about it. And like, he's like, do you think that hurts that he does it? I said, not anymore. Like, not with this team, right? Like, this is a group that just went to a Stanley Cup final. You don't need to go out and trade for example, my example yesterday was Corey Perry's played in a lot of playoff games. He's not going to help you in the playoffs anymore. Like, Jeff Skinner may not have played in a playoff game, but he's still a really good player, right?
I mean, he can score.
Yeah.
He's one of the least engaged defensive players in the NHL year over year over year. That's a big reason why Buffalo never went to the playoffs. So I am interested in how he fits in and how the coaching staff can get him to play on a competitive team where, you know, every single night matters. I mean, honestly, like the amount of meaningless regular season games that guy has
the closest he's been to being on a really good team? Let's see here.
Well, I mean, I would have thought that I was a little surprised by that stat originally, thinking that maybe he did something back in Carolina. But that's why, like, it did. Like, I know Buffalo's been brutal for the entire time he's been there.
Yeah, missed the playoffs from 2010 to 2018 with Carolina too. So
that long? That's crazy.
I know. Yeah. Since 2010 to now, he's never played in a playoff game. So yeah, I guess we don't necessarily know like if there's more juice there on a contender with this guy. So we'll see. But he scores goals, and if you put him beside Leon Draisaitl, 30 to 35 goals, probably, 30, I would think. He's not going to get a lot of power play time. So 25, 30 goals, even strength next to Leon, I think is probably pretty reasonable. And you get him at $3 million. So that's a nice little bonus for you. Like last year in Buffalo, he had 82 points in 79 games. Right? Like there's high-end offensive upside here. He also was plus 15 last year, which was just the first year of his career that he was a plus player. So that helped last season. Outside of that, steady diet of minuses along the way.
And he still got bought out.
Yeah, I know. Well, this year he had 46 and 74. It was only -2. But, they bought him out, and the Oilers managed to reap the benefits. So, obviously, great times here in Edmonton. We'll see how they sort out the rest of their cap issues and if they move a body or if Kane's LTIR'd and they can get their 2 RFAs done. And then they're rolling into next year. Now, we'll get to the rest of it, but just quickly, because I said it this morning, and I don't know if it's still up, but the Oilers were at 7-1 pre-free agency, and you could have got them still this morning at 7-1. Like the line hadn't moved yet on Coolbet. But Haas, I would think once the dust settles on free agency here, they're the Stanley Cup favorite. Are they not? Or is it still Florida?
Yeah. No. Well, no, I would. I think it'll be Edmonton.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Edmonton at 6-1 or plus 650.
Yeah.
I'm geo-blocked, so you'll have to get that up.
I'm going to look right now.
If there has been any changes, but I think that the Oilers did a lot of good things. Who is it they got to sign? Broberg and Holloway?
Yeah.
Like, what do we think that those contracts are going to be?
Well, the thing for those guys is they don't have any arb rights, and they're going to get taken to the cleaners pretty good. I think those two young guys.
They'll get bridged.
Yeah,
they'll get bridged.
Yeah, super small bridge for Broberg. It'll be like, hey, congratulations, you made it. You're going to be here now permanently. But here's what you're going to make for the next couple of years until things open up. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't see either of those guys like holding out because it's impossible. I mean, the money's just not going to be there. So they will, they'll get those deals done. Those guys just don't have much negotiating power in that situation, and they get to be the two young guys on a really good championship contender, right? Which is pretty coveted spots, I think. So,
and speaking of young guys, in our neck of the woods, and I know the Jets were in on Henrique, and much like, I mean, they also lost Monahan, who went to Columbus.
Yeah.
I think the Jets dodged some bullets yesterday.
What would you have thought of 5 years, $5 million or whatever it was for Monahan?
I would have been apoplectic.
Yeah.
And we'd been talking about this on our show quite a bit. I said, listen, Monahan came in and brought a lot of things to the Jets. And yes, they do have a big hole if he's not there. But he's going to be 30. Mark Scheifele's 31. Adam Lowry's 31. Scheifele signed for 7 more years. Lowry, he's got like a couple years left on his deal, but he'll stick around. If all of a sudden you sign Monahan, you have for the next 5 years plus, you've got guys on the other side of 30 as your players. And I don't know. I think that they have to have a path for a Perfetti, a Brad Lambert, Rutger McGroarty, depending on what happens with his situation. I mean, those players to come in and actually earn a spot and get playing time. And you know what? I think in the short term, like, do they win 52 games again and 110 points? Probably not. But I think long term, they'll be in a much, much better situation over the course of the next few, because the bottom line is this team is never going to be, the big fish on free agency. And the other thing is that I think Chevy's done a great job by maximizing the amount of cap space that they have right now. Because as we've seen with teams like in Edmonton or in Colorado, there are teams that are really, really up against it right now. And the cap space is a very, very valuable asset. I was looking at Colorado. Colorado has one goalie signed, or I guess they've got both their goalies signed, Georgiev and Ananen, for about $4 million.
Yeah.
They've got 27.5 on the blue line. They've got 43.5, and that does not include the $7 million for Landeskog that's got to be on. When it all comes down to it, they've got like $300,000 in cap space, and they've got 5 defensemen, 9 or 10 forwards, and a goalie. I mean, they're going to have to make some moves, and that's why they were so quiet yesterday as well. So I don't know. It was an interesting first date. There was a lot of money handed out. I knew everyone in Edmonton would be all fired up, and and that just it juices everybody right back up after a disappointing week after Game 7. What was that? Literally a week ago.
Yeah.
All systems go on the oil train again for next year.
What was so crazy here today is that, like, how it is in the Canadian market, Huss. Like, there's always something wrong. It's like, they win 3 in a row, and it's like in the Stanley Cup final, it's just like, well, if they wouldn't have blown it in the third period of Game 3, it would be up. Today there was one, I think we had one person who was like, don't necessarily love the Perry deal. Like that, like, outside of that, it was just full-blown A+ across the board for Jeff Jackson, which is really interesting because they're still looking for a general manager, and I'm not sure what purpose that GM serves when the guy who's the intern and will be your boss put on a masterclass yesterday in free agency. Like, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I just wonder whether he wants all the responsibilities that go along with being the GM. I mean, obviously he'll work in with the guy on the big decisions. More and more. Well, I mean, listen, you look at it in Winnipeg, you got Cheveldayoff. Obviously, the owner's a lot more involved in there. And Mark Chipman, he, I think, has a seat at that table and has been working in hockey for 30 years. So, I mean, it's maybe a little bit different than some of the others. But from a hockey ops standpoint, you need to have someone that totally understands the cap. Like, I'm sure there'll be other guys there to even take care of. Maybe you're hiring another AGM that handles a few things. But I can understand why his public approval rating is high right now. And what's the word on Holland? Like, Holland's gone, and is he still working? Or
no,
it's kind of bizarre that
Holland's contract is up. So they said he could stick around.
Are no longer needed.
Yeah, like they could find like an advisory role for, like, hey, you want to still make some money and be around, but they've moved on. Like they've moved on from Ken Holland, I think, having any type of decisions in this organization now. So contract is up. He's been rumored to possibly land in some other places, but we'll see where that dust settles on that front. Interesting because they are in the West, and the others could deal with them in the playoffs at some point. But in the division for you guys, How about Nashville landing 3 of the top 4 agents on the big board yesterday? Over 20 mil to Marchessault, Stamkos, and Brady Shea to add to what was already a pretty good Nashville team. You would have seen Nashville more than I saw Nashville last year, Huss. What do you make of the big 3 being added down there in Nashville after keeping UC Saros in a long-term deal?
Yeah, they listen, Barry Trotz is cooking. He took advantage of the fact that Nashville is right there at the top of the list of the most desirable places to play, both for the awesome city, but also the tax structure. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee is right there with Florida for the little or no state income tax. So from a financial perspective, it works. It's a place that everybody loves to go to, and from the sounds of it, the players love to play there. And they had a ton of money. Like they weren't supposed to make the playoffs last year, and it was a lot of their younger players that really sort of stepped up. And obviously, you've got Saros, you've got Yossi, who is amongst the top defensemen in the league. And it was wild. I mean, to see them add all 3 of those players. I mean, I think Brady Shea is the guy that doesn't get enough, that doesn't talked about enough, but tell you what, that's a player the Jets would have loved to have had on their blue line. And I mean, Marchessault and Stamkos, like, these aren't just guys that have, won cups and that are coming in for the retirement portion of their career. I think both of these guys are going to be in FU mode to their final teams from the day one of the regular season through the final game of the playoffs right now. I mean, I'm stunned that Stamkos is gone from Tampa.
It doesn't seem right, does it? It seems so weird. Thought they'd get something done.
And you think about it. I mean, every other guy they've found a way to keep. I mean, even though they traded Sergachev, but I mean, Vasilevsky got the long-term deal. Kucherov got the long-term deal. They're about to do it again with Hedman. And then they went to Stamkos and offered him $3 million a year. He just scored 40. So I understand why he was somewhat pissed off and kind of questioning. I mean, he'd been the captain, first overall pick. It's weird. He was just sort of treated differently than the rest of those guys, and had to make a decision moving forward. So he will be a very motivated player. And Marchessault, I'm not as surprised just because of the way Vegas does business. They don't seem to have as much loyalty, shall we say, as most of the other teams.
Did you see what Marchessault said on TSN yesterday?
No.
Apparently, he said he doesn't think they tried as hard as they could have to keep him. So as far as chips on shoulders go, that's going to be another one too. Yeah.
He's another guy that wanted to be there. He's the leader in literally everything in Golden Knights history. Games, goals, assists, playoffs, and blah, 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 blah. Jonathan Marchessault is the record book in Vegas right now. So he'll be another motivated guy. But yeah, they did well. And the other team, and we'll have some time to kind of get into this over the next couple months as we look ahead to next season. But the Utah team, the former Coyotes, sure look a lot different.
Just from an approach, right? Like just from an approach, like they're being aggressive.
For Sergachev. Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, they've got an owner with money. They had a bunch of draft capital and they pulled off a couple deals right now. I mean, the Central is looking quite interesting. And then we mentioned the cap situation the Avalanche are in. The Dallas Stars. Dallas will always be, I mean, they've got a really good core. I think they were really disappointed to lose Chris Tanev. That's a big, big loss off their blue line. Now, whether you can go 6 years on the deal like the Leafs did, it's going to take him like 40 years old. A guy that plays hard miles, man.
Buyout proof too, because it's almost all bonuses. So there's like no way out of it. That was an interesting one. That one was big. But yeah, continue. Sorry, I hopped in on Tanev there, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the fact that the balance of power in the division, Colorado's still going to be right there as long as they get the goaltending. I mean, they've got that super elite power. Dallas should be there, and I think Winnipeg. You could make the argument that they certainly aren't maybe right at that top of the division like they were last season, but I think if you project it down to the second half of next year, if the young players, kind of come through, they'll be in a much better situation than a lot of others. because of cap space right now. So it's always funny. Half the team, the fans around here, they're always saying, like, this is a joke. The organization needs to play the young players. And then they don't overpay for a bunch of veterans on the other side of 30 on July 1st. And then it's, I can't believe they did nothing in free agency. Well, you kind of have to pick a lane, everybody. And I think this is the way the Jets have to go right now. I know they just picked up Jared Anderson-Dolan from the Kings today. Another sort of a depth player right now. But it's going to be, in all likelihood, whether it's one more player on the right side of the blue line or a guy to come in at the 2C position to compete with a Perfetti and a Brad Lambert for that spot, probably going to come in the way of a trade.
Hey, before we move on, we're going to build a little baseball parlay. I want to talk some Vegas gambling as well. The city you're in, Vegas, Golden Knights. Marchessault gone. We just talked about him. They lose Chandler Stevenson as well. They don't have money to really do anything else. They added Samsonov, so they're kind of looking at the roster sort of as it is right now. Their blue line will still be really good. Forward group has taken a significant hit. What type of expectations would you have for Vegas here just days after free agency began?
Well, I think they'll still be a really good team. And, listen, if that team is actually healthy, I think they compete with Edmonton. If they're healthy and they get goaltending. Aiden Hill and Samsonov. Hill did win a cup, but, was hurt and whatnot last week. Although, I'm looking both of them just on one-year deals.
Yeah.
Listen, it is Mark Stone, Eichel. Let's not forget they added Hurdle last year. They're going to have him moving forward. So I think that they're going to still be for sure a playoff team. And I think they'll be a really tough out in that division for a team like Edmonton at some point. But I still think that Edmonton is the favorite based on the guys they have at the top, what they did this year, and the guys that they added. Now the big question is when do they get Dry done to a deal? Because I'm sure that no matter how good things are going, there's a certain level of anxiety in the market on one Draisaitl because we know how tied that is to Connor.
Yeah, I think people will give Jeff Jackson a lot of benefit of the doubt here and think he's just going to get that deal done with Leon Draisaitl after the way that they worked yesterday. Getting some of these pieces to come in and help. And a lot of people said, no, they're proving to Draisaitl that they'll load up and get him some wingers. And I understand where that's coming from. He's probably going to get close to whatever he wants as long as it's not more than whatever they're projecting Connor McDavid to get. And then you have to somehow build a team around two guys who are going to be making a ton of money. Like the rumor in town is that McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard are going to come in at $40 million for the three of them, 16, 14, and 10. Basically, right? So then you have to hope that the cap continues to go up and you have to somehow find guys on these $1.5 million deals to make it work.
10 for Bouchard?
That's the rumor around town.
I guess he's got a lot of points.
Finished fifth in Norris Trophy voting.
Yeah.
It's
he's going to get paid more than Cale Makar.
Well, with the way the contract, his contract's coming up a couple of years after Cale Makar's, right? If Cale Makar's came up next year after Bouchard, Makar would have more again, right? So I think it's probably going to be somewhere close to there. If they can get it in the 9 area, I think they'd be pretty happy with it. So it's just this is what happens when you put him in a spot on that power play to put up, historic numbers in the playoffs and what they've done so far. And he'll be like a 80-point guy next year on the blue line again. It's.
What did Nurse? Where was Nurse at? How did Nurse get his 9.5?
Well, that year, first of all, they probably overpaid him a little bit. But that year, he was that was straight out of the bubble year where he only played Canadian teams. And he put up some really good numbers against a bunch of bad Canadian teams. And, he had 36 points in 56 games that year, which was pretty good for him. And if I recall correctly, that was a year where the market for defensemen got juiced a little bit. There were a few other defensemen who got pretty damn big deals as well that haven't looked as bad as Nurses, maybe just because they're not in a Canadian market like this. But I'm pretty sure there's a few other defensemen that kind of set that market, and Nurse was just like, well, that's what I get now too. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong.
And I will say this, the Oilers certainly were leaning on him big time because, in fact, the last game, I can't remember that series which because there was
he played 60 minutes in that game or whatever.
I was just able to say 60 minutes in part of the Jets sweep of Edmonton that year, and I guess you realize just how important the guy is. And if you're playing a triple overtime game and a guy goes 60 minutes, that's some nice recency bias going into a negotiation about how important that he is. Well, anyways, lots of work to do for the GMs. It's whether they've got the players and then figuring out how they're going to work on the cap, or in a place like Winnipeg, seeing what else is out there, both via trade and still on the market to try and add to the mix.
Huss, what have you been doing in Vegas betting wise? Hey, you've been hitting the sports book, just chilling for a bit. You've been hitting some tables. What are you doing?
I'm so pissed off about it's so funny. I'm talking about a Brewers-Rockies game. But I had a nice little parlay last night, and I had the Brewers was the final leg, and they went up 7-6 in the 8th, gave up a bomb in the 8th to tie it up to 7. It went to extras, and could not get Christian Yelich home from third. Gave up the round and took an L on that one. But yeah, you know, like on the weekend when there was a bunch of us, we were doing a bunch of roulette. I played some blackjack, thrown down on a few slappers, a few sports books. The one thing I did have yesterday, which is maybe the biggest bet that I had made on a single game, was Uruguay against the USA.
Okay.
And I, for the life of me, could not understand how Uruguay was an underdog to the States for most of yesterday. Now, I believe the line flipped and Uruguay ended up being a favorite at the end. But, I mean, on the three-way it was plus 185 Uruguay, plus 145 USA. USA, who had just lost to Panama. And, I mean, they needed a result, too. Like, they didn't absolutely have everything guaranteed on the count of their 2 wins. So they got the win yesterday. U.S. American soccer fans very, very pissed right now. And I cannot wait for the 5th, Canada moving on. When you think of like the accomplishment for Canada to get out of their group with Argentina, Peru, and Chile, it really is one of the great results or accomplishments in the history of the men's national team. And they are playing with house money, and I think they're going to be a bit of a dangerous team coming up on the weekend when they get their chance to do it. We've got some Euro. Maybe if you can pull up these odds.
Yep, I got them right here. What do you want?
What do we got for Austria, Turkey this afternoon?
Austria minus 103, Turkey plus 350. The draw is plus 245.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess Austria is pretty much the clear favorite there. And then tomorrow, or sorry, wait a second, today. Oh, and then there's a couple day break.
Yeah.
Man, July 5th, is that Saturday?
That is Friday, I believe.
The first, second.
Yeah, that's Friday.
Okay,
yeah,
Friday.
That's Friday, yeah.
What a day of soccer on Friday. Spain, Germany in the early game. Portugal, France, the late game in the quarterfinals. And then later on that night, Canada, Venezuela in the quarters. That we may have to do a special parlay. Well, hopefully, if I want it, because he's able to jump in with me on
he'll
Thursday.
hop in on Thursday, I think.
He's good. Okay, great. We'll get to CFL, and then we'll do a 3-legger. We'll do a 3-legger.
You would not have seen the CFL odds for this week, right? So
no,
I have them. I have them in front of me, and I don't know if you were able to pay much close attention to last week, but let's go through this. So I'm looking at the lines right now. Toronto is in Saskatchewan on Thursday. That's the game I'm doing this week. Of course, Trevor Harris is out. He's on the 6th game. What's the line, Huss?
The line is Argos minus 1.5.
Argos minus 3 on the road against the Riders. Bounce back, I guess, after the loss to the Alouettes, their first loss of the season, and probably not enough faith in Shea Paterson, I would guess, right now, because we just haven't seen a lot of Paterson. So the Argos are 3-point road favorites against the Riders. Maddie and Huss will pass along my picks for them on Thursday as well. Ottawa on the road in Winnipeg against your beloved 0-4 Blue Bombers. Evan Holm, by the way, did not practice today.
Oh, great. Has there been an update on Collaros?
Collaros not practiced today.
Bombers -3.
-2.5. -2.5 right now for the Bombers. So that's a good one. Almost nailed it. Calgary, coming off that win over Winnipeg, their first in a few years. Calgary's on the road against the unbeaten Montreal Alouettes. What do you think that number is?
Alouettes -7.5.
Alouettes -9.5.
9.5. Wow.
9.5. I think I like Calgary to keep it within 10. Like, come on, 9.5. Second time that's happened to the Stamps this year. And then the BC Lions going on the road against the 0-4 Hamilton Tiger Cats in the Hammer. You know BC's a favorite, but what's the number?
BC -5.
Yeah, -6. -6. You were close on that one. So Lions are -6. Calgary on the road +9.5 in Montreal. The Bombers are 2.5-point home favorites. And the Argos are 3-point favorites right now. Huss, of those 4 games, which one do you think will see the most movement if we see any significant movement?
Good question. Well, I mean, honestly, I think that probably has to do a lot with, a few players. Caleros, for instance.
Yeah.
His availability, that could move it one way or the other. Like, I don't think Calgary's going to get bet significantly to move the Montreal number down. If anything, I mean, that's why it's so high. I think everyone's realizing this Montreal team they're
good.
Awesome. They're playing really well. They've got all the confidence. It's going for them. The BC line, like, here's the thing. BC traditionally doesn't travel particularly well out east. Like, you've seen the games are a little closer. And I mean, heck, they didn't even cover last week against the Elks at home. Hamilton's been so close.
Hamilton they have the second best offense, like, statistically. Hamilton's got the second best offense, the third best defense, and they're 0-4.
Yeah. Well, and you can dive into the losses of the Ticats, and I mean, they could easily be 2-2 or 3-1. Hell, the Bombers last 3 games have all been overtime, like right down to the wire, 2.3 point losses.
The Elks' last 2 games have come on walk-off field goals. Like, they've been right there too. These 0-4 teams are not that bad.
Elks are a covering machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I take them every week, and they've been good to me. They got to get a win. All these teams have to get a win. I mean, hell, dude, and I know 2011 BC went 0-5. They went on to win the cup, and it is a long season. But you got to get some wins. I mean, just to be in the mix right now. I mean, 6 teams are going to make the playoffs. I mean, if these 0-4 teams don't get a win or 2 going forward, I mean, you're basically looking at 2 and 3 games to make up against the teams that are chasing. There's not going to be easy. So I think there'll be a real sense of urgency for Hamilton and Winnipeg this week, Edmonton next week. And the Elks are in the bye week right now. Are there any big changes or whatnot? I mean, I know when I was talking to Iwanek, he said, well, if they lose this game, maybe this is the time that you would do something coaching-wise. I think if they're going to do that, that's at the end of the season. I mean, they're sort of pot committed to Jones. And again, they've been in these games. It's not like they've been getting embarrassed. It seems like that win is close for Edmonton. Yeah, there won't be coaching changes this week. I just don't see it happen. They've been very close. And I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to change the coaching staff right now. Then new ownership takes over in 6 weeks, and they change the coach again, or the general manager again. Like, you kind of just got to ride it out at this point. And they get Ottawa on a home and home, and then they get Hamilton. So if you're going to win games, there's 3 right there for the taking for you. So yeah, I don't see any significant changes coming out of the break. It sucks to say it, but they are that close. So yeah, we'll see if they can pick it up. But I mean, if they, it'll be a tough pill to swallow for fans here if they somehow drop both to Ottawa and you're still not doing anything. I don't think that'll go over very well. So we'll see. What do we got for tonight? You want to bang out a quick
little baseball ticket? I mean, you're down in the betting baseball capital of the world. I mean, what do you like? I had a couple things here on my little notes, but What do you got?
I like the Royals tonight, and I don't know what the number at Coolbet is
I'll
right
get it
now.
for
I was
you.
seeing minus 120 earlier on the money line when I was downstairs at the book.
Minus
Singers on the
116.
Hill.
Minus 116.
Oh, nice. Even a better number. So, yeah, I like Kansas City over Tampa. Dallas Keuchel starting tonight for the Brewers. I kind of feel like the Brewers will get one back on the Rockies. I have a hard time imagining them going to be. What's the Brewers number?
Brewers minus 123.
I mean, the Rockies are terrible, and their starter Feltner's 1-7 with a 5.82 ERA. I am interested to see what Keuchel's got. I mean, he got traded from what the Mariners. He's got 11.25 ERA. Hasn't pitched very much. But just considering they lost last night, I kind of like Milwaukee to bounce back. Who do we got?
I like
Baltimore and Seattle's a really interesting game.
Well, let me give you the numbers on that one. Baltimore, Seattle. Minus 111 for the Orioles, minus 105 for the Mariners on the money line.
Ooh, yeah, pick them. I mean, the Mariners cannot hit. Their pitching has been great. But Baltimore's got Rodriguez on the hill. I don't know. I don't even mind Baltimore as a very slight favorite there. What do you like?
Well, I like Cleveland minus 1.5. I think that's my favorite play of the day. They are playing the White Sox. It's one of the best teams in baseball against one of the absolute worst teams in baseball. And it's minus 1.5 at minus 109. So I do like that one. I think Chris Flexen is pitching for the White Sox. He's got an ERA of 5.13. I just don't see how he does anything against Cleveland. So I like Cleveland minus 1.5. I don't hate the total under 8.5 in the Arizona Dodgers game either, but Cleveland minus 1.5 would be something I'd throw into a parlay. And what were the first two you were looking at? You were looking at Milwaukee.
Royals money line.
Royals money line, which is minus 116. And then,
do we want to just do a 2-gamer? Royals and the Cleveland.
Yeah, we can do that.
Run line?
Yeah. Jake, I don't know if Jake's there or what. But
Lock Shop double play today in the Coolbet exclusives.
I like that. Yeah, Lock Shop double play. Let me text the boys here. We want. What'd you say? You're on Royals. Royals money line,
and Cleveland run line.
Guardians run line. Beauty, and we'll get that up. The boys will have that up in the exclusives. You get a nice little boost on a little 2-gamer. Let me just give you the number on what it would be pre-boost. What we got here? Minus 109 and the Royals minus 116. So plus 257. So we'll probably get it boosted just shy of 3 or right around 3. Yeah. So you'll be able to find that in the exclusives page over at Coolbet. Huss, what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, buddy?
Well, I'm sure some travel diaries will be a part of the show today. A little bit of recap of the weekend in Vegas that never ends with the NHL draft. We'll be talking Jets, where we go from here. Hamilton's coming on with me, and we'll kind of be hitting both. And then we're going to bang out an episode of CFL 110.
Beautiful.
So for any of you out there that are into the 3-down game, give us a sub over at Winnipeg Sports Talk. And for your podcasts, just search CFL 110 and give us a sub there as well. We'll have that new content out for you a little bit later on. But now focusing on the 0-4 Bombers, the Jets post July 1st, and all the usual things. And then obviously some laughs and discussion of just the circus that we've been going through.
What time are you supposed to head home tomorrow?
Tomorrow I leave at 11 or so. Okay. It's basically 11 to 11.
And what's the route? Like, midnight. Where are you going? Where are you going through?
I'm just going to Minneapolis.
And then
like like that was part of the reason. Like to get home earlier today or yesterday, it was like over $2,000. As I mentioned, like a milk run. Like you're going to Boston and then Toronto. Like there's no way. There's just no way. And actually wasn't like the cost of the hotel for 3 days and the flight was still way less than that other stuff, and not as bad. And actually, I guess we'll be tag teaming this week because you'll be in with Pat tomorrow while I'm traveling. Then me and a Wannick on Thursday, and that should be great. I'm going to be picking Wannick's brain on the Euro. We're going to talk Canada, Venezuela. We will get into CFL picks, and then JBM and I.
Yeah, the whole crew. Everybody's going to be rolling in today.
Friday fun day. Everyone's got a piece. Everyone's got a piece of it this week.
I'm going to be pissed if my flight back from Regina, because I'm going down through Calgary to Regina tomorrow because I can't leave until 4, and the only direct leaves at like 10. But I'm taking the direct home on Friday, and if I get stuck in Regina for an extra day, like I'm home for the weekend this weekend. Like I'll be home. I'm supposed to be home by like Friday at 5. I get to have the whole weekend at home, and if it gets delayed and I don't get back till Saturday night or something, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be livid. So,
Regina's a beautiful city. I'm sure you'll find something.
Well, I'll be crushing Western pizza, and I think our hotel's connected to the casino, so that's not the worst thing in the world. Either.
All right,
yeah, there you go. All right, Hustle, have a good show today, buddy. And we'll, I guess I'll talk to you now on Monday.
Yeah, I'll fire you guys some golf picks for the festivities tomorrow, and I will look forward to being back in the lock shop and back in the peg Thursday with a Wannick talking CFL and Euro in the Copa.
There you go. That is us. Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up a little bit, right away here. It'll be up in 7 minutes. Same time that we get rolling on 2 guys and a goalie here as well. The boys will throw that up in the exclusives page over at Coolbet. So just keep refreshing that, and you will find it eventually. A little 2-gamer in Major League Baseball. I like the little double play, a little lock shop double play. We do that the whole summer. Just 2 games. Guardians -1.5. Royals on the money line. Don't go play it just yet on your own. Wait till it gets a little bit of a boost and post it in the exclusives page over at Coolbet. If you're not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart right now, or you're listening at EdmontonSportsTalk.com on our audio player, or you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hammer a thumbs up for us. That'd be great. Sub to the channel. We're now at 9.22. That's nice. We've gained like 30 subs today. Realize if you ask for subs, sometimes they sub. It's a real nice thing. But sign up for an account at Coolbet. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you do, and you'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. All right, so that's a big news over there. Coolbet.com. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up. All right, we got 2 guys and a goalie coming up here on Edmonton Sports Talk. If you're listening on the online streams, you'll get a small dose of Whale and the Wolf, and then myself, Cass, and Gage are breaking down what was just an absolutely arousing day of free agency for Jeff Jackson. That entire management group must have just been rock hard when Henrique was like, yes, I'm coming back. Can you imagine the celebration that they'll have when they found out that Henrique was coming back as well? What is this saying? Nothing against Fogle and Vinny. And I know everybody will be sad. Obviously, Skinner can't start batting high fives with anybody else. It was a Vinny, skinny, Winnie thing. But you kept most of the band together and then added a new, like, what would we say? Keyboard player and like a bass guitar. Is that what that would be? I don't know. I'm not big on bands. I don't know where Skinner and Arvidsson would be in the band, but I do know general band references, like keeping the band together. And that's what they've done for the most part. So we'll get into that on 2 Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction. We'll get into your bigger and hotter headlines for Big Mama's and Papa's Pizzeria as well. If you're watching over on YouTube, hammer the thumbs up and sub before you leave. Turn on autoplay. It'll take you right on over to 2 Guys and a Goalie and a small dose of Whale and the Wolf on TuneIn and iHeart. And then we'll get fired up with 2 Guys and a Goalie. We've got lots to get to on 2 Guys and a Goalie today with myself, Cass, and a Gager. That's going to do it for Huss and the boys over at Coolbet. I am Nielson saying thank you very much for joining us on Lock Shop today. Best of luck tonight if you're riding with us on that MLB double play, and we will talk to you tomorrow.